Plaintiffs Jasmine Dye and her mother Ebony say Jasmine was good friends with the defendant, and they were so close that the three of them even got an apartment together. However, they're suing because they claim she failed to pay the rent and the electric bills. Defendant Tiara Carpenter admits that she and Jasmine were close until Jasmine and her mother started harassing her for money while she was grieving the death of her father. Tiara says she moved out because Jasmine's attitude was aggressive, and therefore she denies owing.
Let's start with you.
Okay. Tiara is pretty much like family to me, like as close as sisters can get. But to me, it just kind of seemed like she puts people in front of her priorities that don't really care for her, like I would say my family does. We met in 2007 at Henry Ford High School in Detroit. We was like joined at the hip after we met, like together every single day. Wherever you seen Tiara, you seen Jasmine. If you seen Jasmine, you seen Tiara. She ended up coming to stay with us because of some family problems, and that made us closer. You know, that was good for me, my friend staying at home. But then she went to a different school, so she moved back with her mom. We kind of lost touch when she moved, but then she went through a few things and we kind of got closer. In 2010, I had a baby. We came back closer again, and we were talking about, moving and stuff. She came and stayed with us again. And we were just
both finished high school?
Yes. And then she came back and stayed with us again at my mom's house. And we were talking about moving in together because it's like, why not?
Okay, and did you all?
Yes.
All right, how was that?
It was fine.
No problems while you all were living together?
When we first moved in, it was no problem.
All right, let me hear from her. Get a little background here before we get to the rent and bills they're suing you about. Yes,
okay, hi, Your Honor. Just like Jasmine said, we've been best friends since 10th grade. I was staying there. My dad passed away. Jasmine and her mom called me about financial issues and that my viewpoint of them was different.
What do you mean financial issues?
They called me about financial issues, money that I owe them.
Oh, okay.
Money I owe them. April of...
You didn't owe any money?
No.
You both finished high school?
Yes. And then she came back and stayed with us again at my mom's house. And we were talking about moving in together because it's like, why not?
Okay, and did you all?
Yes.
All right, how was that?
It was fine.
No problems while you all were living together?
When we first moved in, it was no problem.
Plaintiffs Jasmine Dye and her mother Ebony are suing Jasmine's former friend, who claims Jasmine and Ebony harassed her while she was grieving the death of her father.
So the issue we are in court about today occurred after your dad passed?
Yes.
So the issue was them asking you for this money during
around that time.
The grieving.
Right.
Right,
During the grieving at that time. Right.
That's not right, but rent was due before the passing.
Right. April of 2000.
I got that point.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Jasmine, we all moved in. Everything was good. Jasmine had issues with the people that I brought into the home. So
everything wasn't good.
Until then. I said everything was good until then.
Until you start bringing
people in that she didn't know. If Jasmine didn't know them, she didn't play it. That's what we agreed on in the beginning.
How often would you bring strangers in?
It was just that time that I brought somebody in that she didn't know, and she walked in my room.
A stranger in once?
Yes.
Okay. So you only had one problem?
Yes.
Don't act like I'm not understanding. Do you remember saying, hold on, do you remember saying, we didn't have any problems until I began bringing people?
Yes.
People means more than one.
Right. Well,
you didn't say person.
Person.
That's why I was asking you for clarification.
Right. I apologize.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
So, let's go over it again. You only brought one stranger over during the entire time.
No.
You brought more than one stranger over.
No, what I'm saying...
Let's go back to you. Okay. All right. The rent and electric bills. Why are you suing her for that?
Because the incident that she's talking about, it was two people. I think that's what she was getting confused. It was two people, but she wasn't there. That's why I got mad, because I came home with my daughter and she's still an infant, and my brother, and there's two people there that I don't know. Like, who knows how long they've been there? My door's open.
At the door?
In the house.
Knocking.
No, they was in the house already. They was in her room. So I thought she was in the room because I seen her light on. But when we get upstairs, the light was off. It was no more noise or it was just quiet. So I'm like, I know she ain't just fall asleep, that quick. But I, whatever. I go into my room. The next morning, my brother like, so, I really don't think Tiara in there. So I open the door and there's 2 people in the bed and it's like, she not even there. So who's to say how long they been there? And I got my baby in there. So that's why I was upset with her.
She wasn't in the house?
No, they was.
You came home, 2 men?
No,
a couple. There's a couple there, and she wasn't.
Right.
Next morning when you wake up, the couple is still there, and she still isn't there.
Right.
So when you mentioned it to her, what did she say?
She like, yeah, I'll be there in a minute to get them. She came and got them, but it was just kind of like, who know how long they've been there?
Okay,
like,
so that incident passed, and you all were all right after that?
No, at that time, that's where the conflict came in because I was still mad about it because that's weird.
So tell me what happened.
She kind of stopped coming home after that.
Okay.
But that don't mean you don't have to pay the rent because you don't come home.
So she stopped coming when?
At that time, it was May.
Her share was how much?
$408.
And when is the last time she paid her share?
May.
All right. Ma'am?
In June, I went to go pay the rent. My receipt came up missing. They called me. They asked me, Tiara, did you go pay the rent? Because we have an eviction notice on the door. I'm like, yeah, I went to go pay the rent, but I lost my stub.
Did you think to go back to the landlord and say, Mr. Landlord, can you give me a receipt for the money I gave you?
No, I dropped it in a drop box. They had a drop box there, and I had a ride that...
So it never got to the landlord? It never got to
the landlord.
How
and the
do you
landlord,
know?
I called the landlord. They called me and said, Tiara, they didn't get it.
Gotcha.
And I asked the landlord myself, like, where did it go? Mm-hmm. I turned it in or whatever. The Jasmine was like, no.
But who gave you a receipt?
The receipt, the liquor store gave me a receipt.
Gotcha, for a money order.
Money order, yes.
Gotcha.
July next month, they called me like, Tiara, come on now, where's the money?
Why did you stop staying there?
The reason why I stopped staying there is because I had a job and Jasmine's attitude was changing a little bit and I didn't like it. So
How was her attitude changing?
I mean, it was a little bit more aggressive than it normally was.
So that's the reason you abandoned your lease?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Right. So then I moved.
Why don't you think you should have to pay for abandoning your lease?
Because I paid for June, but I don't.
But how about the rest of the lease? Didn't you sign on to the lease?
Yeah, I signed on to the lease.
So what makes you think you don't have to pay?
Because I gave her back the keys and I wasn't there.
Okay, but you don't understand that when you sign a lease for a certain period of time, even if you never come home,
right,
you're still bound to that lease.
Yes.
For example, if you lease an apartment by yourself,
right,
and you decide that you're just not going to come home for a couple of months,
right,
you still have to pay those couple of months.
Right, which I do think I'm responsible for that.
Plaintiffs Jasmine Dye and her mother Ebony are suing Jasmine's former friend, who claims Jasmine and Ebony harassed her while she was grieving the death of her father.
You left because you had a job.
I had a job.
And you didn't like her attitude.
Right.
That was the only reason you left?
Right. And then...
All right. And you don't think you should pay because you weren't there.
Right.
And because you turned in your keys.
Right.
And you think when you do those things that you're out of a lease.
Right.
Okay. You think wrong.
Right.
All right. Ma'am?
Right. But when she left, even though she turned in her keys, but all her stuff was still there. So even if you're like, well, forget it, I'm going to just leave.
You can't abandon your lease. I mean, that's clear. What did she agree to pay?
Her half of the rent for those times that she was gone. She said, I'll pay my debt, and the reason my attitude changed is because...
Ma'am, did you say you would pay?
Yes.
So why are you denying now?
I'm denying now because I didn't... I don't know. I didn't.
You don't know why you're denying.
I wasn't there.
You're denying now because you didn't think I would see your text that said you would pay. That's why you're denying now. Have a good day. Judgment for the plaintiff, $2,688.
I still love her the same way.